Across the Spider-Verse is just jam-packed. Wait, hold on one second. Much better. Across the Spider-Verse is just jam-packed with comic book references and characters from the comic books. As someone who's been reading Spider-Man comics for over 25 years, I was just constantly delighted to see characters that I love. For this video, I'm gonna concentrate on characters that are new to Across the Spider-Verse. Here are my top 10 favorite spider characters from Across the Spider-Verse. Number 10. Spinneret and Spiderling make a blink and you'll miss it cameo in Across the Spider-Verse, but their comic book counterparts are so cool. In this alternate universe, Spinneret is actually Peter's wife, Mary Jane, and Spiderling is their daughter, Annie. You see, when Annie was just a baby, Venom kidnapped her and Mary Jane to get to Peter. Peter was with the Avengers at the time, who were planning their attack against a supervillain named Regent. Peter leaves to save his family, and when Venom threatens to kill his daughter and suck her brains out of her skull, Peter drops a burning building on him and kills Eddie Brock. With Peter out of the fight against Regent, the other superheroes lose, and Regent absorbs their powers, becoming ruler of the world. Years later, Peter helps lead an uprising against Regent and is aided by Mary Jane in an exoskeleton suit and Annie, who has inherited his superpowers. Peter then invents some technology that allows MJ to tap into his powers as Spinneret, while Annie, who is still figuring out her powers, calls herself Spiderling. Number 9. Spider-byte was one of the standout new characters in Across the Spider-Verse, but did you know she started in the comics? Margot Kess is from an alternate reality where people spend most of their time as virtual avatars in cyberspace. Inside her school's Peter Parker Memorial Science and Technology building, Margot dons a VR headset to stop a thief that had stolen from her classmate as her virtual reality counterpart, Spider-byte. She catches the thief in the virtual world, returning the money to her classmate. She also joins other Spider-Verse characters like Spider-Gwen in stopping the evil inheritors, but plays a very minor role in these Spider-Verse comics. Like, I think this is literally the only panel she's in. Number 8. The web-slinger is a Spider-Man from an alternate Wild West reality where expert gunslinger Patrick O'Hara was traveling with snake oil salesman Michael Morbius. One day, Morbius's snake oil spilled onto a spider that bit Patrick and his horse Widow, giving both of them spider powers. Morbius, on the other hand, is turned into a vampire by his elixir. Patrick follows a trail of bodies to Morbius, who is about to drain the blood from some child victims. A fight breaks out, causing a lantern to get knocked over. A fire spreads to Morbius's snake oil, and Morbius snaps out of it, telling the web-slinger to save the children just before the building explodes. Morbius is seemingly killed, but the children survive. The web-slinger goes on to fight other Western versions of Spider-Man enemies like Kraven the Train Robber and the Scorpion, who is a leader of a Mexican gang of bandits that kills people with a poison chain. The web-slinger and his horse are able to talk without talking, as he puts it, something he calls their rider sense. He also explains that Widow wears a mask so folks don't recognize him, which I love. Number 7. What's up with this emo variant of Spider-Man from Across the Spider-Verse? Well, in the comics in the 1970s, Peter and Gwen Stacy were in university together, and their biochemistry professor became obsessed with Gwen. After Gwen died, he went crazy and used tissue sample collected in class to clone Gwen and Peter. He learned Peter was Spider-Man and blamed him for Gwen's death, so to get revenge, he pitted Spidey against his clone in a situation where only the true Spider-Man could save Ned Leeds. They saved Ned, but the clone was seemingly killed in an explosion. In the 90s, it was revealed the clone had been living in self-exile using the name Ben Reilly, a mix of Uncle Ben's first name and Aunt May's maiden name. Peter and Ben became friends, fighting side by side as Spider-Man and the Scarlet Spider. Ben and Peter were led to believe that Peter was actually the clone, and Peter retired from being Spider-Man to take care of a pregnant Mary Jane. Ben became Spider-Man for a few years, but was killed by the Green Goblin and disintegrated into dust, proving he was the clone all along. Of course, this being comics, Ben eventually came back. He needlessly explains what he's doing and is over-dramatic in Across the Spider-Verse because that's a common critique of comic books from the 1990s. Number 6. Spider-Rex. Spider-Rex came to be when the T-Rex Noranosaurman, whose name is a play on Norman Osborn, attacked and bit the pterodactyl Tarker. Say that 3 times fast. As Noranosaurman bites him, they are hit by a meteorite full of alien spiders. And when they awaken, they've switched bodies and their skin color has changed to look like costumes. Noranosaurman tries to attack Tur in his new body, but Spider-Rex is able to fight him and other dinosaurs off using his new spider powers. He tries to swing away, webbing onto a tree branch, but the branch breaks and he falls on top of Noranosaurman and hurts 2 innocent dino standers. Which is when he learns that with power, there must also come responsibility. Spider-Rex fights enemies like Craver-Tooth the Hunter and saves Mary Jane Watsour from Venomsaurus Rex. Number 5. Mayday Parker isn't just an adorable addition to Across the Spider-Verse, she's also a very popular comic book character who has hundreds of comics written about her. In the main Marvel Comics 616 continuity, Mary Jane becomes pregnant with Peter's child, but the baby is stillborn. It's actually implied that the Green Goblin kidnapped the baby, but it's never followed up on except in this alternate universe where Peter's clone, Kane, rescues the child and returns it to Peter. Peter then loses his leg during a fight in an explosion that also kills the Green Goblin, causing him to retire from being Spider-Man. Later, when Mayday is 15, she starts developing spider powers. Norman Osborn's grandson, Normie, then becomes the Green Goblin and attacks Peter, thinking he's responsible for his father and grandfather's deaths. So Mayday dons a costume that once belonged to Peter's clone, Ben Reilly, and saves her father, marking the start of a long storied career as Spider-Girl. Number 4. You might know from Across the Spider-Verse, but he first appeared in a 2004 comic called Spider-Man India. After getting a scholarship and moving to Mumbai with his Aunt Maya and Uncle Bim from a remote village, he's bullied by the other students except for his future love interest, Meera Jane. One day, while running from the bullies, a mysterious yogi appears to him and tells him it's time to embrace his destiny. The yogi then gives him spider powers and a costume to fight the evils of the world. While testing out his powers, he swings past a woman getting mugged, telling himself it's the police's job to intervene, not his. But his Uncle Bim tries to stop the mugging and is murdered. He then chases the muggers down and leaves them webbed up for the cops, remembering his Uncle Bim's words, "With great power there must also come great responsibility." As Spider-Man, he protects the people of Mumbai from his universe's versions of Dr. Octopus, Green Goblin, and Venom. Number 3. While Spider-Woman may have just made her big screen debut in Across the Spider-Verse, the character dates back to 1976. Jessica Drew, a white woman in the comics, was actually created in part by the High Evolutionary, who also recently hit the big screen in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. After Jessica became sick, her geneticist father and his research partner, the High Evolutionary, attempted to save her by injecting Jessica with a serum made from several species of spiders, hoping to mimic the spider's regenerative capabilities. This granted Jessica spider powers and other fantastic powers like being able to discharge bioelectricity through her hands and what she calls venom blasts, and while she can't fly, she is able to glide using her suit. Jessica was brainwashed by Mentalo into joining Hydra, where she was trained but was able to fight the brainwashing and stop herself from assassinating Nick Fury. Much like in Across the Spider-Verse, Jessica was also pregnant in the comics, having used a sperm donor. Her son, Gary, was shown to have inherited her powers. Number 2. While Spider-Punk is British in Across the Spider-Verse, he's actually an American inspired by British culture in the comics. Hobie Brown in the main Marvel Comics continuity is a sometimes villain, sometimes good guy called the Prowler. But in this alternate universe, teenage squatter Hobie Brown is bitten by a radioactive spider and leads a group of anarchists, along with Captain Anarchy, against the President of the United States, Norman Osborn, and his authoritarian regime of venom-infused police. As Spider-Punk, he starts rocking out and a massive wall of amps drives the venom off the police force. Hobie then decapitates Norman Osborn with a guitar. No, really. After helping the other Spider-Men in the Spider-Verse comics series, Hobie returns home where he drives a spider van around and fights punk versions of Spider-Man villains like Kraven and the Hunters and a Danzig-inspired Taskmaster, recruiting band members along the way like Mattia Murdock, the Daredevil drummer, Robbie Banner, the Hulk, and Riri Williams, Riot Heart. Number 1. Spider-Man 2099 is just oozing coolness in Across the Spider-Verse and in the comics. In an alternate universe set in, you guessed it, 2099, Miguel O'Hara was the head of the genetics program of the evil mega corporation Alchemax. Miguel was trying to recreate the power set of the long-dead Spider-Man from the Age of Heroes. His boss, Tyler Stone, tricks Miguel into taking Rapture, an addictive drug that bonds to its user so he can control Miguel and make him create an army of super soldiers. Miguel attempts to remove the Rapture from his bloodstream, but a coworker sabotages him, causing his genetic code to become 50% spider DNA and granting him spider powers. This also gives Miguel spider talons that come out of his hands and feet. Donning a costume, he fights against the mega corporations like Alchemax that have come to control the world, fighting side by side with other 2099 superheroes like Doom, the Punisher, and the X-Men. If you liked this video, check out this video about more Spider-Man related characters. I think you'll really dig it. And if you want me to make a video about the comic book origins of the characters from Into the Spider-Verse, just let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, you friggin' nerd.